Hey, buddy.
What's up, man?
How you been, man?
Doing good. Doing good. We're recording on a day of remembrance.
We are.
We are. And before we get into all that, I'm working with a kid right now. And I said, "Where were you, on September 11th, 2001?" He says, "Man, I wasn't even born yet."
That blows my mind.
2003, the kid was born. I said, "Oh, man." And not that I'm old, because I feel good and I'm not old, but that made me feel just a little bit wiser.
Yeah.
Is the word I'm looking for.
Last year I ended up keeping my son, my youngest one. He's 12 now, but I kept him home from school on 9/11,
Yeah.
and we spent the first half of the day watching
Yeah.
newsreels about the events of 9/11. Maybe one or two documentaries on
Man,
how
there's
it
some
all
good
went
ones.
down. Yeah, and he kind of had an idea of what it was, but I don't think unless you live through it as an adult, I don't think you can
Yep.
really appreciate the gravity of what happened that day and what came out of it.
And it's still, I tell you, well, there's a lot to touch on there. It still just doesn't seem real, right? I was 18 years old out of high school. I skipped work that day, and it just does not seem real what actually happened. But it did happen. And
Right.
it's a sad, sad situation. And anybody who was old enough to remember, it doesn't matter how old you get, unless you get the dementia, I guess, but you'll never forget what you were doing and where you were at that day.
That's true. You guys, you're listening to the Crucible. I'm Emil. That's
I am
Paulie.
Polly. How you doing?
Yep. And today we're talking about the remembrance of September 11th. And it's a day that any American can say that they were impacted, whether directly, indirectly. All of us felt it. We have a couple slides, a couple of photos to go through, and we can talk a little bit about it as we go
Yeah, for
go
sure.
along. Starting off, this is the skyline, New York City skyline, before any of the attacks or anything like that. You can see those two World Trade Center towers, iconic
Twin Towers, iconic
part of the
skyline.
skyline, right?
Yep.
And opposing to that, on the other side, we have the Pentagon. And this would have been closer to home for me. I was living in Northern Virginia at the time.
Okay.
So this was 14 miles away from where I lived. And I found this really nice little infograph about the actual timeline of the events and when certain things happened. If you want to screenshot it or whatever, this isn't ours. Right. I pulled it off the internet. I'd give you a source, but I didn't see one. So, yeah, if you know who made this, throw it in the comments below. But it is very interesting. You can see where the planes hit, what floors they affected on the buildings
on impact,
right? Which side of the Pentagon was hit, the flights that did it, and then of course there was the fourth flight that was downed in Pennsylvania by the actual heroes on that flight.
The ones that fought back. Yep, or at
Flight
least had the time to try and do something because of all the phone calls and that were coming to them at that time.
Yeah.
From what I understand, from what I've read and seen reports on.
And I believe they say that one was going to target the White House, if I'm not mistaken.
It's what it sounded like. Sure.
Yeah. So this is after the first one hit and the second one was in trajectory.
That is an image that is, if you were watching that live like I was on that morning, that image right there is probably burned into your head, because
Paul,
this was seen live on TV.
So Paul, where were you when this was going down? This very moment when you said you watched that on TV?
I was in Saginaw, Michigan. It was a few months after I graduated high school. I became an iron worker for Local 25 out of Detroit, Michigan. And shout out to them. I got two brothers that still work for them. And we built buildings such as these, skyscrapers, bridges, anything to do with steel structures is what we worked on. And I took that day off. So I was in Saginaw, Michigan in our apartment. Me and my brother, we lived together in an apartment, 18 years old. He went to work. I stayed home because we were going to a Tool concert in Grand Rapids at the Van Andel Arena. And you've got a little history or a little
With
background
the
with
Van Andels.
because of Amway.
Yeah.
And we had a buddy, a mutual friend. He was crashing at the apartment because he also was taking the day off of work, or he might have been taking in college classes and just whatever. I can't really remember that. But I remember turning the TV on and he was in the shower and I heard the shower shut off and I said, dude, I don't know what's going on. It feels like I'm watching a movie. Get your ass
Right.
out here and come take a look at this. And that is when he came out, and then we saw this picture.
Yeah.
We saw this image. I mean, damn near exactly.
Yeah.
And we both looked at each other and said, WTF is going on?
Right. Yeah. I was so I was fresh out of boot camp, or relatively fresh out of boot camp. I
You would have
had
been 19 or 20, right? We're about the same age.
I was about 19, I believe,
Yeah. Yeah.
at that time. And yeah, going on 20. I would have been 20 about a month after.
Yeah.
And so when this all went down, I was actually home because I was stationed out in California. I was home in Virginia, attached to the recruiting station in Alexandria, Virginia, for about 2 weeks. I was actually going through some custody stuff with my oldest son, the one who just got married last
Who you
week.
just married
Shout out to
off.
him. Yep, that's right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So he was, back and forth, me and his mom in court. So I had to be home, but I was attached to this recruiting station for that time being. And I just happened to waltz into the office that morning and I sat down and they had the TV on. They said something's going on in New York. And the first one had already been hit, and it was a little bit before the second one was hit. But we watched it live with that impact, and we stayed there and we kept watching as, building by building, they both collapsed. And, the images and the videos of all the people out in the crowds, we have this image here. This is what
Eerie.
Erie. This is all the dust and smoke and debris from those two buildings collapsing. And we were watching this all play out on the video. Here's the firefighters from New York. And I believe that's one of the adjacent buildings, not the Twin Towers, but there was a third building or maybe even a fourth building that was also affected.
Yeah, from the collapse, of course.
Mhm. Yeah. So, obviously a lot of firefighters and police officers lost their lives that day, in
Yeah.
addition to the people, the victims that were actually trapped in the building. Um, a lot of things happened that day, but I would say because I was so close to DC, that recruiting station was maybe 8 or 9 miles from the Pentagon. And a lot of people don't know this. The Pentagon's not actually in DC. It's in Virginia. It's just
Yeah.
on the opposite side of the river from DC. So like you hop over the river, you're in DC. You come on back on the other side, you're in Virginia, you're right at the Pentagon. And the highway runs right next to it.
Right next to it.
So here you got the Pentagon, and the Pentagon was hit right there at that one wall. Obviously, these are massive, thick walls, so it didn't penetrate all the way into the middle. It didn't take out the whole building.
Right.
There were definitely, casualties, many of them. And being that, at the time I was in the military, I'm thinking these guys had the guts enough to take out our headquarters. Now, when this happened, obviously there's a little bit of a delay between when this happened and when they started airing about it. Well, I
Yeah,
was in
because initial reports were like almost like a crop duster or a tour type
Yeah.
plane might have crashed into the side of the building. Those were the initial reports that I remember hearing
Right.
until you saw the footage.
Well, we were in the recruiting station and we watching the video of the Twin Towers because all the footage was on the Twin Towers at the time. We
Yeah.
heard a pop. It sounded like someone's tire blew out or something outside, or like not a gunshot, but like something similar to that. And so, we were like, what the heck was that? We went outside, we looked around, didn't see anything. And then they started talking about reports about the Pentagon getting hit. And so we went outside again and we saw a plume of smoke coming up
Yeah.
from the tree line. And obviously it was far away, but we
Yeah.
could tell that there was a plume of smoke, and that was, in fact, the Pentagon. So
And how far away you say that is
from
from where you were?
it had to be maybe 8 miles,
Okay.
maybe less. It was visible from where we were though.
Golly.
So, it still sits fresh in your mind, even
Yes.
what, a decade later. And a lifetime has passed from then till now. The result of that, going to a couple different wars, serving, I was in the Marines, so I did go over to Iraq a couple of times. Some of my friends, they ended up in Afghanistan or Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So, a lot happened and transpired from this singular event, this coordinated attack. Bad things, right? I think a lot of good things
Sure.
happened too.
A lot of good things did happen.
What would you say were some of the good things that came from?
There has never been a time, and again, I was young. I was 18 years old, didn't have a fear in the world,
Mm,
single, just out trying to earn a buck and have some fun, right? And I remember how united, and just being that young, still thinking about it, how united the country became
right,
because of that disaster. Everybody at that point in time was on the same team. There was
right,
no, there was, of course, agendas got played out in politics during and after the fact of all these terrorist attacks, and us being spied on for whatever reasons. But we were united. I've never seen the country so strong after something. I've never seen the country that strong ever again. At
mm,
some point in time, we've just been declining. And that's not a shot at our country. I love our country, and I don't think I'm the only one who sees it that way, that it took an attack on our land to bring us together. And what has got us so separated today is insane to me.
yeah, yeah,
That's
100% agree.
It shouldn't take another one of those incidences for us to put politics aside and love thy neighbor. Be
Yeah,
nice to each other. Help an old lady, help a young kid, do something that's doing good in this world instead of turn the news on.
yeah,
You'll see.
yeah. Like what we watched last night, right? The debate.
Yeah, let's touch on that real quick before we get back into 9/11. It was I keep on hearing I won, we won, who won,
Both
he
sides are
won,
saying it.
she
Yeah,
won. What did they win? Is my question. What was won? You and I were talking before this. That debate isn't for the Democrats or the Republicans.
right.
That's for independents. And if
Hmm.
you're an independent out there and you watched what you and I watched last night, I mean, who you got?
Yeah,
There was nothing proven to me as an independent that's going to make me sway my vote one way or the other from what I
yeah.
saw last night.
So
Can't happen.
I got to agree with you on that. I've seen, obviously, Facebook, Instagram. You see the posts, both sides. Both sides are saying, oh, this the other side was lying, the other side was
Yeah.
cheating, the other side had an earpiece. Now they're talking about it, the
Yeah.
other side. So all these accusations, right? That event, that whole debate wasn't for you. You're already
That's right.
solidified in
You
what
already
you.
have your
Yeah,
team.
you
And
already
that's
know who
the
you're going to vote
problem.
for. It wasn't for
That
you.
and that's not a problem, I guess. But the problem is when it gets on TikTok and it gets on Instagram and it gets on Facebook, and then it's just concentrated on those certain things. I talked to the kid I work with. I'm going to bring him up again today, because he's the type of guy that did that. I said, "Did you watch that debate last Sunday?" He said, "No." He says, "I'm
Hmm,
going to watch it on TikTok." Well, there you go. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get hours worth of 30-second clips that mean absolutely nothing, because the part you should hear is either before or after that little clip that you just got.
right. And it just creates an echo chamber.
It
And
does.
if you don't know what an echo chamber is just somebody regurgitating what you already believe in to help
Yes.
solidify it in your mind. So
Yes. Makes
there's
you
nothing
feel
new there.
good.
Yeah, it
Makes
makes
you
you feel
feel
good.
good.
So if you take a second to actually think and listen to the other side, then you might actually be able to put the pieces together. And that's what folks that are in the middle, the independents or the, third party people, or
Yep.
just the undecided folks. Maybe they are Democrats and maybe they are Republicans, but they're just not convicted with the
They may not
contender.
like their candidate.
Yeah.
They may not like their candidate, whether it's Republican or Democrat or not, and they're just stuck. And that debate was going to be their deciding factor.
Yeah. And I will say, as somebody who I can tell you that I am in the middle.
Yeah.
I am in
Oh,
the middle, but I am leaning
here I
in one
am.
direction, right? I am leaning in one direction. That debate really didn't help me. It didn't help me
Pulls you back more
solidify.
towards the middle. It just makes you feel, okay, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
I've learned nothing. I've learned nothing more than
Yeah.
what I expected to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. I expected to be like kicked into the direction that I thought I was gonna vote for. And I'm
Yep.
still like, you know, I'm still leaning, but I'm not sold.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Right.
was looking for, is to get sold. So back to the 9/11 thing. Where are we now compared to then? And how did we get here? And how do
Yeah.
we go back to it? And I almost feel like, after watching that debate, I almost feel like we need to get back there. Not saying we need
Definitely.
another event, because we don't.
No,
But
hell no.
we
We don't need an event. And we have enough events going on right now.
Yeah. As a people, we need to be unified. We need to
Yeah.
be on board with each other and helping each other. And there's the ranting and raving about America first. Yes, America first, but we're talking about all Americans, not just the Americans that believe in what you believe in. We're talking about all of them, because they're all Americans,
Yeah.
right? All the ones who have the right to vote, whether they vote for your candidate or not. I think if I were running for president, I would say, first of all, I would fill my cabinet with people of all different viewpoints, not just the
Sure.
ones that want to hear what I have to say and want to agree with what I'm saying for
Yes,
fear
men
that
or
I'm going to
yes,
fire
women.
them. Yeah, I don't want yes men or yes women. I want people who are going to challenge the way I think, because you can't put forth a comprehensive plan if you're not thinking about what everybody needs, not just what you need, but what everybody needs. So that's one. But two, for the people who didn't vote for me, I'd still want to consider their thoughts and their feelings and their desires.
It's the job to. It's the
Yeah,
job to be open-minded and do what's best for the country, not
right,
one half of the country.
right. Because
You're the leader of the free world. It's
mhm,
your job in 4 years to keep it that way.
yeah, and every American is therefore your constituent.
Yeah.
So you have a responsibility to them. So, anyways, with that said, coming out of 9/11, there was a lot of loss, a lot of
Have
tragedy, a
you
lot
been
of.
there?
I've not been to that part of New
I have
York.
been. I
You
have
have.
been. Yep. Yep.
What was it
Years and
like?
years. It was very eerie because I was there when the Twin Towers were there, and
Mm,
then I went for a trip somewhere and ended up taking the subway downtown and walked around, and I did go visit this site. This is the reason why we were going there, to go
right.
visit that site, and it's a different feeling. It's peaceful, I guess I could say.
Mhm.
It's warm, it's welcoming, but you know what happened there.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
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 So these very bright lights come out from those two memorial sites, right? And so, are these lit every night, or is it only on special occasions?
I can't answer that. I would think every night, but I can't answer that.
Yeah.
If
It's
somebody
still
in the
it's
comments is
impressive.
watching, if somebody wants to leave that in the live chat as you're scrolling along here, watching along, let us know if you know that answer.
So I think from all that pain and tragedy, that feeling of unity, it was, whether you want to consider it a gimmick, whether you want to consider it, a ploy or an agenda. The fact is, it really did happen. Like, you
A-
really did see
And I
people.
don't, I can't even think of it as being a gimmick, man, because I know a lot of guys that left from this state just to go help clean up
Mhm.
the mess. And there was people like that all over the country wanting to go help clean up this mess.
Yeah. We tried to in our dress blue uniforms. We tried to go on site
Hmm.
at the Pentagon to help, help whatever dig rubble out or whatever. They wouldn't let us in. They
Yeah,
wouldn't let anyone in. So,
yeah,
but and then this is what came of it, right? This is what
that's
came
right.
of 9/11. I think within a week you saw this everywhere. There's this really impactful commercial. I'm going to play it because I have it right here. If you don't mind,
Play
let me go
away.
ahead and share this.
You're not gonna believe what I'm gonna share with you afterwards here, but go ahead.
Right on.
Bring this
All
down.
right, is it sharing?
It was there for a second.
Okay. Let's go ahead and share. Let's give me 1 second. Fidgeting. All right, here we go.
On September 11th, terrorists tried to change America forever. Well,
Mhm.
they succeeded.
Yep.
Now, when I first saw that commercial, I felt moved and I felt
I
so
have goosebumps
patriotic.
right now.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
well, that's the thing. So looking at the context of that commercial, they wanted to change the face of America forever.
Yeah.
They succeeded, but it wasn't forever. It only
Oh,
lasted maybe 10, 15 years.
yep.
And then it's like we've all forgotten where we came from, what we did. And you can't claim one side is still remembering that.
No,
Everybody's forgotten.
that's just it, and it was supposed to be never forget,
Mm,
and it wasn't just never forget that we were attacked. I mean, never forget the way we were with each other that many years ago because of that situation.
yeah. Well, I have some good news that has come out of this, at least good news in our home. Today, I took my son to the recruiting office. It's my second son.
Ah,
Oh yeah. So this is my boy. He's
I saw that. Well
yeah,
done, sir.
he's getting ready to enlist. So he was signing up here to take his ASVAB. It's going to be next week, and he's going to do his medical eval, and then they will assign him a ship date. And if
Okay.
all goes well, it'll probably be within the next couple of weeks that he'll be heading out. He'll be joining the Navy.
Is he pumped?
He's excited. Like he's been going running every day. He's slamming protein shakes because he's on the super skinny side.
He
He's trying
looked
to
to be a
bulk up a
little
little bit.
looked a little thin.
Yeah, he's gangly. He's gangly. But no, he's been running every day. I went running with him. I was trying to teach him how to pace himself because he's like burning himself out. So we're working on it, and he's studying for the
Well, at least
ASVAB.
keep your pace. Come on, slow down a little bit. Slow
Oh,
down a little
seriously.
bit.
We started to do the jog and he was like flat out sprinting. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm running." I'm like, "No, we're gonna
This is
jog.
a jog walk.
Yeah, we're gonna jog. We're gonna try to do the whole 2 miles without stopping." And because he hadn't done that yet, he's always had to stop. And I was like, "If you feel like you're gonna puke, you just push right through it. You'll be fine." And
Oh,
he
yeah.
did good. He finished it.
Hell yes.
So
Hey,
I'm
so
excited for him. I'm proud of him, man.
that's that's great news, by the way.
Yeah.
And you should be proud of them, and everybody else should be proud of them. And I look forward to seeing the updates for sure.
Oh, you will. You will.
Check this out. Now, this sits in my office every single day. Not just because it's today and no one has seen this, but it's what we're talking about. This is here. Let's do this. Oh, wait a
You can
minute.
put you on big screen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta click the button there and solo layout. So there you have it. That's your new skyline of New York City.
Mm, that's nice, man.
So when I talk about never forgetting, it's not just a lingo or a saying. I mean, this is never forgetting. This is something that I get to look up at every single day when I'm down here recording, editing, cruising eBay, doing whatever I want to do down here, this means something to me, and that's why it's up there. Now the tack fell out when I took it down, so I'll have to re-tack it, but it's going to go right there for right this second. I don't want to knock everything else over.
It's all right, man. We don't need a second crotch shot, otherwise we're gonna get flagged.
And then I got, yeah, right. And then I got this over here.
Hey. So for the viewers who don't know what that is, that looks cool, by the way. That is a cool painting. What is that?
That's why I bought it. That's why I bought it. Who
What
made
is
that? You tell me what it is. You made it.
Ah. So
you told me once before. Well, I can tell you, it looks similar to the tattoo I have on my back, is what it looks like. But
so that is in the colors of the Ukrainian flag. That is an eagle, right? And it's an eagle that's just artistically made. And honestly, dude, I think that's one of the coolest pieces I've ever made. I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you have it.
I don't even know what I bid for it, but I got it.
I think it was like $50 or something like that. But so several years ago, when the whole thing in Ukraine was kicking off, I had, I don't know, felt the conviction to go over and help. So at the time I was, just doing fundraising, getting some money, things like that, pulling it up, buying gear, and I was getting ready to go over there. I was stopped by my wife. She was like, "Come on, man. We need you here. Don't."
Because you would have had to been gone for a year, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that there was nothing for my job was going to give me 3 to 6 weeks, I think. And there was nothing. They were like, we don't need somebody here for 3 weeks. We need somebody here for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. But I did end up finding a former Army guy who did go over there, and I gave him all the gear, and he signed for it and everything, because I wanted to make sure he wasn't just gonna like steal my gear and go back to wherever he was from and enjoy it. He did end up going over. He's sent me plenty of photos while he was over there. I kind of followed him and what he was doing, and good guy. But I'm glad it went to good use, and some of the funds from that came from the sales of some art pieces like that. So I'm glad you have that, man. That's a really cool piece.
It is. Right there.
Yeah, man.
Right there. I think when I'm full screen, you can actually just see the sides of it. So
cool.
Let us know in the comments section where you were, what you remember. Definitely leave those in the comments. You can leave them as you're live chatting, or come back to the video and comment that in the comment section, because we are very curious to not everybody's whereabouts, but what you remember of that day and the way things were leading up to where we are September 11th of 2024. It's completely different than September 11th of 2002.
Night and day, man.
Like, it's just a year later. I mean, that was a big one. That it's nothing was even really all cleaned up yet. And
we didn't even know if they were going to do like copycat attacks.
Yeah. We were looking out for each other, man. We need to figure it out. That's all I can say. We got to get it figured out. Well,
thanks for watching, folks.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the comment section. Emil, good show, buddy. Later.
Yep.